सहना भवतु सहनौ भुनक्तु सह वीर्यं करवावहै तेजस्विनावधीतमस्तु मा विद्विषावहै।
In the last lecture, we saw about algebras. What are algebras and specific varieties of algebras also we saw. An algebra has three components. One is the carrier of the algebra, and the second is some operations on the algebra, and the third is certain constants which have specific features. A variety of an algebra is an algebra which satisfies certain axioms. And we have seen the definition of a semi-group, a monoid and a group. We shall recall those definitions again. We have also seen what is meant by specific constants, like what is meant by a zero element and what is meant by an identity element. These are some of the concepts we saw in the last lecture. We shall see about one more algebra, one more variety of an algebra, which is called Boolean algebra. So, let us see this definition, and then let us go back to the definition of semi-groups, monoids and groups again. Now, what is a Boolean algebra? A Boolean algebra is an algebra with signature S plus dot, this complement notation, 0 1. Where S is the carrier of the algebra, plus is a binary operation. This is also a binary operation, and this is a unary operation, and these two are constants. This is called complementation, and the following axioms hold. With respect to addition or this binary operation, you have commutativity law, a plus b is equal to b plus a, and with respect to the other binary operation, ab means a dot b. So, ab is equal to ba. With respect to multiplication also you have commutativity, and the associative laws hold for both addition and multiplication. The two binary operations we shall call as addition and multiplication. A plus b plus c is equal to a plus b plus c. This is the associative law. Similarly, for multiplication, the associative law is ab into c is equal to a into b into c, and distributive multiplication is distributive with respect to plus. So, a into b plus c is equal to ab plus ac, and addition is also distributive with respect to multiplication. So, a plus bc is equal to a plus b into a plus b. These are distributive laws. One binary operation distributes over the other operation, and 0 is the identity for the addition operation. So, a plus 0 is a, and 1 is the identity for the multiplication operation, that is a dot 1 is equal to a. So, 0 is the identity for this and 1 is the identity for this. Then with respect to complementation, if you take a and the complement of a bar, then a plus a bar will be equal to 1, and if you multiply a with a bar, you get 0. So, these are the properties of the complements. A Boolean algebra is an algebra with this signature, with one carrier, two binary operations, one unary operation and two constants, where this is the identity for this and this is the identity for this. and it satisfies all these 10 axioms. Now, examples of Boolean algebras are, if you take the set 0, 1 or true false if you want, and the operation plus, instead of plus you have the OR operation, for dot you have the AND operation, because complementation is the complementation, not operation. Then you have an Boolean algebra. So, with the set 0, 1, that is true or false, OR operation, AND operation, not operation, and 0 is the identity for OR operation, 1 is the identity for multiplication operation. This forms, this is a binary operation, this is a binary operation, this is a unary operation, two constants are there. So, this forms a Boolean algebra. You can very easily see that all the 10 axioms are satisfied. So, instead of this plus, if you put OR and OR, here you should put AND, then you know that the commutative laws hold, the associative laws hold, the distributive, one is distributive with respect to the other. Then A or 0 will be A, and A and 1 will be A or A bar is equal to 1, this is a tautology, P or not P is 1, and P and not P is equal to 0, which is an absurdity. These things we have seen earlier. So, this is an example of a Boolean algebra. Another example will be, if you take the power set of a set A is some set and you take the power set of the set A, union operation, intersection operation, complementation operation, and then what is the identity for addition? Something union phi will be that set. So, empty set and the set A. So, if you take this, again you will see that there is a carrier. There are two binary operations, one unary operation, two constant, one is the empty set, other is the whole set A itself. Then you find that all these 10 axioms will be satisfied. You have the commutative law. Here instead of plus you must have union, instead of multiplication you must have intersection, and complementation with respect to the set A. Then you will see that these axioms are all satisfied. Another example, let us consider one more example. Another example is, take the number 30 and all divisors of 30. The set will be 1, 2, 3, then 5, then 6, then 10, then 15, 30. Consider this set, and you have to define two unary operation and two binary operation and one unary operation. The binary operation plus will be LCM instead of the least common multiple. A plus B would mean LCM of A comma B, and dot is multiplication, that is GCD, greatest common divisor. So, A dot B will be GCD of AB, and the unary operation dot, our complementation you take as some x bar is 30 by x, 30 by x. If you define like this, then if I denote this set by S, say S, then this set S along with the operation LCM, GCD, then dividing by x, 30 by x, that division I will say div, then the two constants are 1 and 30. Now, if you take like this again forms a Boolean algebra. You have to check all the 10 axioms. If you take the LCM of AB, this is the same as LCM of BA. So, commutative laws can be verified. Similarly, associative law, distributive law, and if this is LCM, A and 1 will give you A, the LCM of A, some number with 0, with 1, 0 is here 1 represents the identity for addition and so on. So, with respect to 30 and another number, if you take the greatest common divisor, that should be that number itself and so on. So, you can one by one you can check these 10 axioms, taking plus to be the LCM and multiplication or dot to be the GCD, and this complementation, the complementation is defined as the number of x, complement of x is 30 by x. If you take like this, you see that all these 10 axioms are verified. So, this again forms another algebra, another example of a Boolean algebra. So, in the last lecture itself, we have seen the definition of what is meant by a semi-group, a monoid and a group. Let us see what they are now. Recall those definitions again. Of course, we know what is meant by associativity. An operation star is associative if A star B star C is equal to A star B star C. That is, you perform the operation on A, B first, and then with the result you perform C. That is equivalent to performing the operation on B and C first, and then perform the operation on A with the result obtained. Now, let A star be an algebraic system. A is a set, underlying set, star is the binary operation on A. A star is called a semi-group if the following two conditions are satisfied. One is star is a closed operation, that is, if you take two elements of A and perform the operation star, the result should also be an element of A. Second is star is an associative operation. If these two conditions are satisfied, the algebra is called a semi-group. We have already seen examples of semi-group. For example, if you take the set of integers I and the addition operation, then you find that if you take two integers and perform the operation addition, then you get another integer. So, it is closed and addition is associative. So, the two conditions are satisfied. So, this is an example of a semi-group. Similarly, if you take an alphabet sigma and set of all strings over sigma and concatenation as the operator, concatenation of strings as the operator, then you find that if you take two strings and perform the operation of concatenation, the result you get is again a string. So, it is closed with respect to concatenation, and concatenation is associative. So, this again is an example of a semi-group. Now, next let us see what is meant by a monad. Let A star be an algebraic system where star is a binary operation on A. A star is called a monoid if the following conditions are satisfied. Star is a closed operation, star is an associative operation, there is an identity element. So, I plus, if you take the identity element as 0, 0 is the identity with respect to plus, and sigma star concatenation, and the empty string or lambda, sometimes denoted by epsilon, sometimes by lambda. This is a monoid because we have already seen that it is closed and the associative property holds, and this is an empty string, and you know that x into epsilon is equal to epsilon into x is equal to x for any string. So, this is an identity element. Similarly, if you add 0 to any element, you get the same element. So, 0 is an identity element for that. So, these two are examples of monoid as well. These are semi groups with the other condition also it holds. So, they are also monoids. Now, what is a group? For group, one more condition holds. There is a unary operation also called the inverse. Let A star be an algebraic system where star is a binary operation. A star is called a group if the following conditions are satisfied. Star is a closed operation. Star is an associative operation. There is an identity. Every element in A has a left inverse. We have seen that if an element has a left inverse and a right inverse, they are equal. So, here actually in this case every element A has a left inverse, that left inverse also will be a, because of associativity and all, it will be also be a right inverse and a unique inverse. So, 4 conditions hold. For example, if you take addition I plus, then the unary minus, that is the inverse, then 0 as the identity, then the closure property holds, closure is holds, because if you take 2 integers and perform the operation addition, the result will be an integer, and if you take associative property, addition is associative, and for x plus 0 is equal to 0 plus x equal to x. So, 0 is the identity element, and for x the inverse is minus x. Okay. So, you get x minus x is equal to 0, the identity element. X actually this is x plus minus x equal to 0. Now, if you have a left inverse, that is for x the left inverse is say this is the identity element. I will use this word letter E for this. X inverse x is equal to E, the identity element. Left inverse exists. Now, if this also has a right inverse, you will see that the left inverse and the right inverse are the same. This we have seen, but once again we can see this. Suppose an element x has W as the left inverse and E is the identity element. E is identity element. This is some operation, say identity element. W is left inverse and Y is right inverse, say Y is right inverse. Then you have inverse of x, because this is of x. So, you have x, this operator Y is equal to E. So, from this what do you get? W is equal to W dot E equal to W dot X dot Y, and because of associativity you can write it as W dot X dot Y, and from here you can see that is the identity element. So, E dot Y is equal to Y. So, even though you say the condition that every element A has a left inverse, that element will also be a right inverse, and not only that, the inverse will be unique. Suppose the inverse is unique, inverse is unique. Why? Suppose A has 2 inverses, say B, and another inverse, say A. This is the identity element A. Suppose A has 2 inverses B and C, then we shall see that B is equal to C. Why? Because if B dot A is equal to C dot A, they are equal to the identity element, multiply on both sides by B. So, B dot A dot B equal to C dot A dot B. That is, if you put parenthesis, it will be like this. Now, if I multiply by the inverse of this element, say A dot B is say D, then B dot D is equal to C dot D. So, B dot D, multiply both sides on with the D inverse, C dot D dot D inverse, which will be B dot E equal to C dot E, that is B is equal to C. The inverse is unique if it exists. It has to exist in the case of a group. We shall see some more examples of groups. Take the set of even integers and odd integers and addition as the operation. Then you have the following group. The group usually you write it as a table like this, even, odd. When you add two even numbers, you get an even number. When you add two odd numbers also, you get an even number. When you add an even number to an odd number, you get an odd number. And when you add an odd number to an even number, you get an odd number. So, this is a group with two elements. This is the identity element, because when you add even to even, you get even. When you add even to odd also, you get odd, and so on. So, this is the identity element. Inverse of even is even, inverse of odd is also odd. Even, the inverse will be even. Odd also, odd inverse will be. Now, because of the existence of inverse, left cancellation and right cancellation can take place in a group. Actually, that is what we have seen. Suppose if you have B dot C is equal to, or B dot A is equal to C dot A. If you have B dot A is equal to C dot A, then because of the existence of inverse, from this you can conclude B is equal to C. Right cancellation can take place. You can cancel off this and say B is equal to C. Why? Because from this B dot A is equal to C dot A. So, B dot A inverse will be C dot A inverse, and this is B dot A inverse is the identity element E, C dot, this A dot A inverse is the identity element E. From this you conclude B is equal to C. So, if you have B dot A is equal to C dot A, then by right cancellation you get B is equal to C. This is permitted in the case of groups, but not in other semi-group and other things. Semi-groups, this cancellation may not hold at all, but you have to be careful while dealing with problem. Similarly, left cancellation also can take place. Suppose A dot B is equal to A dot C, then from this you can conclude B is equal to C, because if you pre-multiply with A inverse, you will find that B becomes equal to C. So, left cancellation and right cancellation will hold for groups. Now, and because of this property, if suppose I have a group with 3 elements, say a set with 3 elements A, B, C, a group table is drawn like this. The operation is this. So, you have A, B, C, A, B, C. This is for 3 elements I am drawing. In general, it will hold for any elements. Let me see what I mean by this. Suppose I have a set n with n elements A1, A2, An. If it is a finite set n A1, A2, An, then the group table will be like this: A1, A2, An star A1, A2, An. So, if this is Ai and this is Aj, the ith row and the jth column intersect in this place, and here the ijth element, it has to be again one of these elements A1, A2, An. Now, in a group you will notice that each row is a permutation of these n elements. Each element will occur only once, it can occur in any order. Each row will be a permutation of this element. Similarly, each column will be a permutation of this element. 2 elements cannot be the same in a row. Why? Suppose I have the same element B here and the same element B here. That would mean A1 dot A2 is equal to A1 dot Aj, which is not true. Because of right cancellation, it will mean that A2 will be the same as Aj. So, you will find that if you draw the group table, each row will be a permutation of the n elements and each column will be a permutation of the n element. This is because of the left cancellation and the right cancellation rules. So, if you look at this ABC, a set with ABC, how does the table look like? The table will look like this. Suppose I take A as the identity, A is the identity. Then because A is the identity element, I can fill this like this. A dot A is A, B dot A will be B, C dot A will be C. So, you can fill this portion of the table. Now, what happens here? Suppose I write A here, then because each row is a permutation, I have to write C here, which is not possible. In that case, C occurs twice in this column, which is not correct. So, the only way I can fill this table is C and then A here, because all the 3 elements should occur. Similarly, you will also find that C, then here you have to write A. If you write B here, you have to write A here, then 2 elements will be the same in one column, which is not correct. So, you have to write only A here and then B here. So, this is the table for a group having 3 elements. Now, what about 4 elements? Because it is possible to draw this table when the set is a finite set. So, when you have a group with an underlying set A and an operation say star, then the cardinality of A is called the order of the group, order of the group. It can be finite or infinite. In the case of say I plus, it is infinite order, and in the table which we consider now, the order of the group is 3. It represents the number of elements in the underlying set. Now, if you take order 4 elements, the set A consists of A, B, C, D, 4 elements, and without loss of generality take A as the identity element. Then how can we draw the table? But the table has to be something like this: A, B, C, D, operation, B, C, D. Before going into this, let us consider the group 3 once more, group of order 3. A is the identity element. So, inverse of A is A itself, because it is the identity element. Now, you see that B dot C is A and C dot B is A. So, B inverse of B is C and inverse of C is B. The other two elements are inverse of each other. Now, in the case of group with 4 elements, let A be the identity element. So, this portion of the table is okay. We can very easily write this. Then you must see that all the ABCD should occur in each row, in each column. It should be a permutation of ABCD in each row and in each column. Now, the other possibilities is BCD, you have 3 elements BCD. One possibility is B is its own inverse, C is its own inverse, D is its own inverse. This is one possibility. In that case, you have A here, B into B is A, because B into B inverse is the identity element, but because B inverse is B, you have this. Similarly, this is A and this is A. Once you fill these portions, the other portions can be very easily filled. This will be the table for this will be, you cannot have C here, so it has to be DC, and similarly you have to have DC here, that leaves with B here and B here. This is one way when you have the inverse of B as B and the inverse of C as C and inverse of D as D. Now, the other way to take is take B inverse as D and take C as its own inverse, take D as D inverse as B, that is C is its own inverse, B and D are inverse of each other, in which case the table will look like this: A, B, C, D, A, B, C, D and operator. Because A is the identity element, these rows you can fill very easily. Now, C is its own inverse, so this C dot C will be A, but B and D are inverses, so B dot D is A and D dot B is A. That leaves the other portion to be filled. BA you have here, you can write C D here. If you write C D here, you have to write that will work out. If you write D, you may get into problem. So, if you write C and D here, this gives you a permutation of A, B, C, D, and here again B, C. If you write D here, this gives you a permutation, which also tells you that D C dot C is A, and then B D dot B is A. That is again correct. So, you have C, D, A here. So, the only thing that is remaining is B, and here you cannot have A, you cannot have A here, you cannot have C here because two elements will be the same, only B you can have. So, D, A, B, C, this is the way you fill the table. So, there are two groups of order 4. They are non-isomorphic, that is, I may also have a group like this. For example, I have a set A is ABCD and the underlying operation is star, and the table is given by this, I can also have another set B with elements alpha, beta, gamma, delta and an operation star. These two groups, this is a group, this group is denoted by A dot and this is denoted by B star. These two groups B star are isomorphic if there is a mapping from A to B, if there is a mapping from A to B, if there exists mapping such that this is a bijective mapping. When you say isomorphic group, both should have the same number of element and this mapping should be bijective. And not only that, suppose I take some A dot B, that should be the same as, that should be, if I take A dot B and find its mapping, that should be the same as taking the mapping of A and performing the operation on the second set with FA and FB. If this condition is satisfied, then you say that the groups are isomorphic. How do I get isomorphic groups? Suppose instead of A, B, C, D, I call it as, by renaming I call it as alpha, beta, gamma, delta, then that group is an isomorphic to this. And in a group, you can interchange the rows and the columns. For example, instead, if I suppose B and C are interchanged, I can interchange B and C here, and then I will get another table. But that is the same, it will represent the same group as this. So there is no reason why I should write here. For example, there is no reason why I should take C is the inverse of C and B and D are inverse of each other. I could have taken B is its own inverse and C and D are inverse of each other. Then the table will change a little bit, but essentially it is the same. Essentially it is an isomorphic group. So these are some of the concepts about groups we have seen. We shall see some more examples and a result. Another example of a group is this. Take rotations of the plane about an axis perpendicular to it. Take rotation through 0 degree, 60 degrees, 120 degrees, 180 degrees, 240 degrees and 300 degrees. Take rotations of the plane about an axis perpendicular to it through an angle either 0, 60, 120, 180 and so on. This is the underlying set A. Rotations through 0, 60, 120, 180, 240 and 300 degrees is the underlying set. What is the operation? The operation is x star y would mean rotate through angle x and then rotate through angle y. So suppose I take 60 degrees and then 180 degrees. First I rotate through 60 degrees, then 180 degrees, which will result in a rotation of 240 degrees. Now you can very easily see that the star is a closed operation. If you take any angle, rotate through that and take any other angle and rotate through that, the result will be rotation through angle. For example, if you take say 240 and 300, that would mean 240 plus 300, what is that? 540. 540 would mean you have to subtract 360 degrees. Once you perform a rotation through 360 degrees, you come back to the same position. So 240 plus 300 will give you 540. That means it's essentially is a rotation through 180 degrees. Okay. So if you perform a rotation through one of these angles followed by another angle, the resultant will again be a rotation through one of these angles. So this operation is closed. And you can see that very easily that it is associative operation. If you rotate through x and then through y and then through z, that is equivalent to saying First you perform the operation corresponding to y and z, and then perform the operation corresponding to z, that will also be the same. So, the associative property will be the will hold here. In essence, x star, y star, z would represent rotation through an angle represented by x plus y plus z, and if it exceeds 360 degrees, you have to subtract 360 degrees, that is all. So, the associative property holds. What is the identity element? This is the identity element. So, whenever you rotate through 0, no change take place. So, if you rotate through 0 and then 60, it will be essentially 60. If you rotate through 60 degrees and then 0 degrees, that is essentially rotating through 60 degrees only. So, this is the identity element. And what is the inverse of each of this element? 0 is its own inverse. For 60 degrees, the inverse is 300 degrees, because if you rotate through 60 and 300 degrees, you get back to the original position because you have rotated through 360 degrees. Similarly, for 120, the inverse is 240 because they add up to 360. For 180, the inverse is 180 itself. So, 180 plus 180 is 360. So, it gives you another example. Another example of a group would be this. Take the set of numbers Zn, it is 0, 1 to n minus 1, and the operation is mod n addition, that is a plus b equal to a plus b equal to a plus b if a plus b is less than n, that is equal to a plus b minus n if a plus b is greater than or equal to n. In that case, you see that all the properties hold. Addition, again if you perform the addition, you will get a number which is between 0 and n minus 1, because if it is greater than n, you are subtracting n from that. So, it is closed. Associative property you can very easily check. The inverse of 1 will be n minus 1, the inverse of 2 will be n minus 2, and so on. So, inverse element exists, 0 is the identity element. So, this again forms a group. This is another example of a group. Now, in all these examples, whenever you have A star B, you also have B star, this commutative property. This is the commutative property where the operation I am denoting by star. Then if this commutative property holds, the group is called a commutative group. Commutative group or abelian group. In all these examples, it so happens that all of them are commutative groups. Whatever you have considered so far, mainly they happen to be commutative group. For example, take this rotations. If you rotate to 60 and 120, it is the same as rotating through 120 and then 60. Can you think of an example of a group which is not commutative? Not commutative. In the last lecture, towards the end, considered n by n singular matrices. Now, I will consider 2 by 2 non-singular matrices. Sorry, non-singular matrices. Consider all 2 by 2 non-singular matrices that forms the set A. Then the operation star is matrix multiplication. So, the product of 2 by 2 non-singular matrices is again another 2 by 2 non-singular matrix. So, it is closed under this operation, and you know that matrix multiplication is associative. So, associative property holds. For A, the 2 by 2 matrix I is the identity element, because this is the operation where I is this identity matrix, and the inverse of a matrix A, inverse element, is the inverse of A, inverse matrix of A. A inverse is the inverse matrix of A. Now, with these properties it forms a group, but you know that matrix multiplication is not commutative. AB is not equal to BA in general in matrix multiplication. So, this is an example of a non-commutative group. Now, having considered groups, let us consider subgroups. What are meant by subgroups? Let A star be an algebraic system and B a subset of A. The algebraic system B star is said to be a subsystem of A star. This is like subalgebras. We used the word subalgebras earlier. The notion of a subsystem is a very natural one. Suppose A star is an algebraic system describing the interaction of a set of atomic particles, then if you are only interested in the interaction of some of the particles, we can consider only a subsystem of A star. For example, this rotation, we can very easily see that we were considering rotations a plane through 0 degrees, 60 degrees, 120 degrees, 180 degrees, 240 degrees and 300, and we saw that it formed a group. You may just consider 0 degrees, 180 degrees. This alone will form another group, or you may consider just 0 degrees, 120 degrees, 240 degrees. This also will form a group. This is a group with 2 elements having a table like this: 0, 180, 0, 180, 0, 0, 180, 180, like this. And this will form a table. There is only one table with 3 elements: 0, 120, 240, 0, 120, 240. So, 0 is the identity element. So, you get like this, and here you get like this. If you rotate through 120 and again through 120, you get 240. If you rotate to 120 and 340, you get 360, that is this. So, 240, 120, you get this, and 240, 240, you get 120. You get 480 minus 360, that is 120. So, this is the table you get for this. This is a group, this is a group. These are examples of subgroups. This is a subset of this, so it is a subgroup. This is again a subset of this, so it is a subgroup. Another example is, let n plus be an algebraic system describing the addition of natural numbers. Clearly, E plus is a subsystem of n plus, the set of natural numbers with addition operation. The set of even numbers with addition operation is a subset, and that is a subgroup because it is closed. Again, this is what we have considered just now. Let A star be a group and be a subset of A. B star is said to be a subgroup of A if B star is also a group by itself. Suppose we want to check whether B star is a subgroup, then what are the things we have to check? First, we have to check whether star is a closed operation on B. Then associative property we need not check because that already holds for the original group. Then you have to see that the identity element belongs to the subgroup. Since there is only one element, identity element E in A, such that E star x is equal to x star E is equal to x for all x in A, we must check that E is in B, otherwise it will not be a subgroup. In other words, the identity of A star must be in B as the identity of B star. In this case of rotation, we have seen that 0 is the identity element here, it is also there, it is also here. Since the inverse of every element of A is unique, for every element B in B, we must check that its inverse is also in B. In this example, you can see that 0 is its own inverse, 180 is also its inverse. In the case of elements with 0, 120, 240, 120 and 240 degrees rotation, they are inverse of each other. 0 is its own inverse. So, the inverse of this is also present here, the inverse of this is also present here. So, that is what you have to check. But really, we will realize that we need not have to check all these 4 conditions. It is enough if we check that the subset which you are considering under the operation star is closed. That is, this is what we have just seen. Let A star be a group and B a subset of A. Now, if it so happens that B is a finite set, the proof may not hold if it is infinite. If it is a finite set, then B star is a subgroup of A star if star is a closed operation on B. How do you prove this? The proof is very simple. Look at the proof like this. Let A, what this theorem says is, it is enough when you consider a subset whether that subset is closed with respect to that operation. If it is closed, then all the other properties will follow. Identity will be there, inverse will be there, and so on. How do you go about the proof? Let A be an element in B. If star is a closed operation on B, then the elements A squared, by A squared I mean A star A, by A cubed I mean A star A, they are all in B. But B is a finite set. So, according to the pigeonhole principle, we must have A power I is equal to A power j for 2 different I and j. And without loss of generality, assume I is less than j. That is, A power I is equal to A power, this is A power I, this is A power I. So, what you have is A power I is equal to A power j, where j is greater than I. Then I can write A power I is equal to A power I star A power j minus I. So, this gives you the idea that A power j minus I is the identity element. So, this shows that A power j minus I is the identity of this, and it is included in the subset of B. If j minus I, this is again j minus I is greater than 1. If j minus I is greater than 1, then what happens? A power j minus I is equal to A power j minus I is equal to A power j minus I minus 1 into A. So, this is the inverse of A. If j minus I is equal to 1, then you have A power I is equal to A power I star A. So, A is the identity element, and so its own inverse. So, if j minus I is greater than 1, the inverse of A is this, and that belongs to a subset. If j minus I is equal to 1, you have A power I is equal to A power I star A. That shows A power I star A. That shows that A is the identity element, and the identity element is its own inverse. So, that also belongs to the group. So, you realize that if you want to check whether something is a subgroup, then it is not necessary to check all the 4 properties. It is enough if you check the first property alone. So, suppose I have a set A with a set star, the binary operation star, and B with the same operation where B is a subset of A. Now, if B is finite, then it is enough if you check the closure property alone. That is, check the closure property. That is, take any 2 elements and perform the operation star, the result should also belong to B. If it is closed, then this will become a subgroup. Automatically, because of the properties, the other thing like associativity will automatically hold. The existence of an identity element, inverse element, etc. will automatically hold. So, thus we have seen that what is a group and what is a subgroup, and how to check for a subgroup, and so on. So, there are some more results about groups, and also we shall see what is the definition of a ring, integral domain, field, etc. And we shall consider a few more examples of groups also in the next lecture.